The greatest challenge up against the modern male. There is something so insidious, so difficult to protect yourself against, and that's resignation. Hey everybody, my name is Drew.
I'm Bryan.
And we are the Men Who Stare at Cups, live from Phoenix Ridge Studios. Anyways, I want to show you guys the mug that I made recently. This is the mead of poetry. This is Odin stealing the mead and throwing it up so the gods can drink it. And this is him being chased by a bird and shouting out the bad poetry. And that's where bad poetry comes from.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, yeah, I painted this mug recently. Pretty proud of myself.
Yeah, I remember when you did.
So, in the Fight Club robe here tonight.
Yeah.
It's not exactly a Fight Club robe.
No? I don't really remember.
So Brad Pitt, when he walks around the kitchen in the derelict house, he's got this
Oh,
robe.
yeah, okay.
It's actually worth Googling the Brad Pitt Fight Club robe.
All right.
So this is my variation of it. It's really terrible.
Yeah. The shirt's pretty bad, too, so I figured I'd meet you.
Thanks. My wife literally will not even hug me if I'm wearing this robe.
Oh, okay.
Like, not even.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would either.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I would.
So tonight's top story. There we go. The Great Resignation.
Which is...
Do you not know much about this Great Resignation thing?
I don't know much about anything, Drew.
Well, okay, so I was curious to know if I was the crazy one or if you were the crazy one when I mentioned this to you earlier. But apparently, on Google Trends, the Great Resignation gets just as many searches as the Great Recession.
Okay, well, I honestly hadn't heard the term yet.
Okay, so the idea of the Great Resignation is that, this is the theory, the working theory, is that because people stayed at home during COVID, they realized that they liked that. And why should I go back to work at all? And more importantly, why should I go back to work for you, crappy company guy? And so they're kind of like saying, well, why should I even like begin to re-participate with this?
Okay.
So I thought this would be a great conversation for us to have about the existentialist philosophy and the Great Resignation. I was at church the other day. Did I tell you the story about the pastor guy?
Pastor Ted?
All right, no, not Pastor Ted. Different pastor. So this pastor's getting up there and he's preaching. This was last Sunday, not today. And he's like, "Men, I'm really disappointed in you." And I'm thinking, okay, keep going. And he's like, "You guys didn't show up for Father's Day. This place was empty during Father's Day." And I thought, bro, here's the deal. If you're going to preach to 2,000 people, and you're going to do it in a pair of Vans and skinny jeans and like a washed up O'Neill pale blue t-shirt with your really gross like dad bod to show off like you're
to body shame him.
Well, I am going to body shame him.
All right.
Because here's the deal. The reason that men wear suits is because all men look good in a suit no matter what.
Yeah, and church is a pretty formal thing, right? I would probably.
I miss formal. Well, it's the ritual side of things.
Yeah.
It's the liminality.
It shows that you're taking it seriously. It makes everything a little bit different.
That's right.
Kind of special.
Like, okay, let's say you went. Let's say you went and met some, famous guy, like presidential executive type figure. You know what I'm saying? And he's wearing board shorts and like some like open button-up shirt, and he's drinking a Mai Tai.
I mean, that could be cool.
It would be cool in a liminal space because you would feel kind of this equality.
Yeah.
But you would not feel the authority. It just would, the uniform matters.
Yeah, I got you.
Like, whenever you see a police officer and they're wearing like street clothes, it always feels weird. Because you're like, I know I got to treat you like a police officer.
Oh, yeah, like when they're wearing the shorts and they have like a bicycle.
No, not even that. Like my next door neighbor was a sheriff.
Yeah.
For like 3 years. And it was always weird when he was in like his normal clothes, because I was like, I'm still going to treat you like a sheriff, but there was just this weird kind of feeling about it. Okay. So back to this great resignation thing. So this pastor's preaching, and he's talking about how, oh guys, you're not showing up to church, you know. And I'm thinking, okay, dude, look, here's the deal. You're treating me right now with your demeanor by vocalizing your resentment to the mass collective. Like Kierkegaard's first rule of preaching, like the first rule of Kierkegaard, who is an actual existentialist, one of like the godfathers, his first rule for preaching was do not preach to the crowd. You have to speak to the individual. So I think, though, that the greatest challenge up against the modern male, or the greatest challenge for men in modernity, is not feminism. I don't think that it's economic policies. I don't think it's politics. There is something so insidious, so difficult to protect yourself against, and that's resignation.
Ennui.
Why not watch Netflix? The why not?
The why bother? And do you think that comes about because of societal circumstances, or does it run deeper than that? Like, would this be happening right now, say, if gas were $2 a gallon and people weren't fighting like cats and dogs on the internet and in academia and all the things? Do you think that would still be there?
I think the reason that they're fighting like cats and dogs on the internet
is because of that.
And I think that the reason they're doing all of that is because of the lack of threat.
Lack of threat, like people are too comfy.
Yeah, like if you're so fine, if you feel no danger, if you feel no terror, then why not just do whatever the most comfortable thing is for your instant gratification? The problem with being comfy is that it threatens your kind of your motivating forces for getting off your ass and handling stuff.
Yeah, and that goes whatever ability you would have, say you're in that pit or whatever ability you would have to motivate and create structure and whatnot, it's probably completely out the window if you don't have a job.
I would like to say that that's the case, that it would be out the window if you didn't have a job. But I'm not so sure. Like, you mean like the ability to say, why not?
I just mean, like, if you don't even have a job, ordering your life and saying, like, well, I have to be there, so I have to do the thing. I have this responsibility. So if you have that responsibility, then I think it's more likely that you'll be able to do, that mountain of other things that you probably should do without having to be like, well, why? Well, okay, well, because. Because, well, right. You went to work this morning, didn't you? Yeah, you put gas in your car. Yeah, you wiped your ass. Yeah, well, it's all like that.
Right.
So.
And what's funny is that the more pressure you put on people, the better they get at handling it, the more they actually wind up getting done.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I thought about when COVID first hit, I thought, man, this is going to be so great. Because in 2 years, I'll be able to ask people when I say to them, hey, did you get this thing done? Right? It's a good example. There's one of the boyos. And this is me officially calling him out. He asked me if he could do something. I asked him if he would make this 3D printed candle. I just really wanted it. And I thought it'd be a good challenge for him to kind of, learn a new skill set, right? But if I was to keep going over there, this was like 3 or 4 months ago. And if I was to go back and keep asking him to do this thing and say, why didn't you get it done? Why didn't you do this, like this one thing? Why didn't you get it done? His answer would be, I didn't have time. You've had 7 months. Like, you literally could have carved the thing with a knife and learned to whittle in that time. So everybody has this idea that they don't have enough time. But COVID has proven that if I gave you all the time in the world, you would not use it wisely.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, there's other reasons too, though. Sometimes people forget, or they get caught up in something else, or they have 5 other things like that they said they were going to do. They overburden themselves with, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then it all kind of cancels itself out. That's definitely a thing. But it's along the same lines of motivation and discipline, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because what happens when you're comfy is that you don't need to produce. You don't need to train because there's no tiger that's going to come after you today. No tiger's come after you in the last 5 years. And ain't no tiger coming after you 5 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
And if your biology has been tooled to be aware of threat and danger, you have an entire piece of your biology that does not really have any point to it. And this may be the Ubermensch idea, that the Ubermensch says, okay, look, since we're comfortable, since we have everything that we need, the hardest part for people is going to say, in my safety, in my comfort, in my whatever, I'm going to actually channel all of that into the next thing.
Okay, so how does one take care of that without some hyperbolic, reactionary, let's go to the past kind of deal?
How does one?
Because that to me seems ridiculous. Because
Okay.
then you're almost like abdicating the challenge of how to deal with convenience and technology and whatnot. I mean, these things came about through innovation and hard work, and out of that necessity, only for it to turn around and be like, well, nope, that was bad. Let's knock all that over. And that's obviously not happening anymore.
Well, I mean, just because
unless there's a comet or meteor or something.
Sure.
So what do we do?
Just because you develop a virus in a laboratory and you've made something novel doesn't necessarily mean.
Is that okay to say now?
I don't know.
I think it is.
Maybe it is.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
probably not okay to say that I don't believe in germ theory and viruses have never been isolated. But I wouldn't
that's
say that,
that's
but
not what we're talking.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I understand.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that just because somebody made an app that made life convenient for you doesn't mean that they didn't make a virus that's going to kill you.
Right.
Like, when people make things that are created for you to bypass the circuitry of suffering, and you're able to skip all those steps continually, skipping the steps of suffering.
Right. Outsourcing your personal development, and of course the whole concept of there's no initiatory processes. This channel is called Initiate. Well, it's supposed to be .me, but how about just initiate me? What?
Sure, initiate me.
It's about initiation in some sense, and existentialism. It actually became more about existentialism.
Well, it's become more about
but
existentialism.
they're kind of hand in hand.
Well, what our viewers don't really know is that what we're getting at is we have a course that we're offering that's $997 a month. And what
There's tigers. You're going to have to run from them.
Run tigers, yeah, exactly. You can come to the Ridge, you can pay $10,000, and we'll take you on a manhunt, you can shoot Brian.
Because I'm a man and I can take it.
What's the name of that? What's that? There's that short story, The Most Dangerous Game? The Most Dangerous Game? Where they bring people onto an island, and then basically you have a famous hunter, and the only thing that's interesting left for him to hunt is man.
Oh, okay. That's been done a lot of times.
So many times. Every single movie ever made. So the question becomes this. How on earth... You want to go duck hunting?
Yeah.
How do you... And I don't have an answer for this. So I'm not doing this. This is a live thing, because I agree. If you decide to make resignation your enemy, and you're going to go full tilt boogie on attacking it, does that demand that you go live in a bush so you can be chased by a bear to utilize the evolutionary functions for which they developed? Like, I have no idea how to attack resignation.
How about a more Zen approach? Accepting that life is a series of toil. You can avoid suffering. The convenience and comfort is an illusion, because that's going to bring on a different form of suffering. You're just changing the hue, you're changing the color, you're changing the way it tastes, and you're telling yourself it's not there. But it is.
No, there's
Yeah,
okay. Well, all right.
there is.
I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here. I'm gonna wrestle against this.
I promise you.
What on earth? What suffering am I forestalling by just continuing to remain in my convenience?
What suffering are you bringing about?
Well, yeah, I'm putting. You're saying that I'm putting my suffering. Eventually I'm going to suffer.
Yeah, you will. You're gonna get fat. You're gonna feel bad about it. You're gonna get lazy. You're gonna get lower back pain. You're gonna drink too much if you do that. All these things. All the stuff that comes with the vice of laziness and nihilism.
So you're gonna be degenerate,
suffering bastard. Yeah, you're gonna experience despair. I guarantee it. I think everyone has their limits. Like, it might take longer for others. You know, some people it might take them 9 months before they start going, you know. Then maybe they're probably really into video games, though. And then that's meaningful to them because they're, like, competitive with it or something. And they're like, well, I can do this from my bedroom, so whatever, I'm good. And eventually it would get to them, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't know. It depends on how much
Maybe.
meaning you were deriving from it.
Well, if video games are very meaningful to you, then I guess you'd be all right.
So yeah, I'm not in the late stage capitalism theory, right? Which is that everything devolves in late stage capitalism to providing, like, everything exists to provide entertainment, not necessarily value.
Right, and all the absurdity that comes with it.
Right.
More people wanting to be influencers. Can you believe that?
Yeah, 75%
percent
of kids want to become YouTubers nowadays.
Oh, what kind of ass.
So the idea of, like, doctors, veterinarians, firefighters, police officers, you know, these the president. Nobody wants to be president anymore.
I don't.
So so that's kind of that's the sticking point to me. You have the resignation side. You have this other side, which is like the hustle and grind culture, which I can't stand.
The super blue collar thing. There's a lot of that in New England or like Boston. Like, they're really proud of the fact that they worked 65 hours last week.
Yeah,
And
that
you're
or
kind
like
of a pussy if you don't.
the Gary Vaynerchuk, like, you know, wake up and grind. I send out 35 Instagram invites before I, take a piss in the morning. Like, I call a boiler room. I call 100 people a day. That's why I'm a successful real estate person. So the issue is that if the metric, so it felt to me like during COVID, the metric for a successful person, it felt like money actually got put second burner to people who were happy. It was like happiness was more important. Happiness at home, making sure that you had a good place to be, that your kids could do Zoom school easily. So there was all this stuff that was put onto making sure you had this great home because you weren't out there comparing yourself to all your coworkers. You weren't seeing every single car that, that like Mr. Douche Chad Meister was driving, or whatever. So when the resignation sets in, that maybe work's not the most important thing. But then you realize that you're a man, so like building a nest for your brood is also biologically not really the most important thing to you either. You're like, well, what on earth am I going to do now?
Watch sports, drink, play video games.
Watch sports, drink, play video games. I can't disagree. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
I had somebody who acted like it was like a friend of mine come up to me last night. I went to go to a play. And he was like, blah, 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 blah. Unless you're doing a bunch of blow, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what?
Blah, blah.
Like, I've never done any drugs, like, in my whole life, right? Ever. And this is like a very normal, like, very straight-laced guy. And I'm thinking, okay, and
dude, it's the 80s. I don't
dude,
know if you knew
your comment is correct.
There's blow everywhere.
It's like blah, 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 watch sports, drink, do drugs, play video games. hang out at my okay house that I'm actually perfectly fine with. And I don't have to really care about money anymore that much because nobody really cares about it that much because they got reoriented and we're in a recession anyways. So why try to make a bunch of money during the recession? Nobody's going to want to buy or do whatever. So let's just settle in. My question is this okay? Am I an asshole for saying, I don't think this is okay?
A little bit.
All right. That's fair.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
I'm not saying you got to like do everything. You know? So should people get up and go to work then? Or should they just stay at home?
Well, first of all, how many people really are employed?
It is an extraordinary number of people. The real thing isn't necessarily how many are unemployed, of which there are a lot. The real thing is the amount of people who are hiring, the amount of money they're willing to pay, the amount of benefits they're willing to give, and the amount of people who still say, nah, screw you. Like, given the jobs that are out there, the amount of people saying screw you is a colossal number.
Okay, I got it. So yeah, the job I just snagged for my grind, I actually rather like, and the company's growing rapidly, and they are offering good competitive wages and benefits and all that for even like relatively mundane work.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, I think if more places did that, there would be less anti-work.
Well, like I'm interviewing for a job on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right. This is a big deal. I have not had like a commercial type enterprise job in 15 years. And I have not worked for a for-profit agency since I was 24 years old. So 14 years. And I am interviewing. I'm interviewing for a job. My buddy got me a referral, referred me in. But here's the crazy part. It's an amazing job. Amazing pay, amazing benefits, amazing like time off schedule, amazing like work culture, am I going back into service, the merchant in the service of the empire? Am I becoming Lando Calrissian all over again? It sure feels like it. Which is why we're releasing a short story that I wrote on the channel.
Like and subscribe and comment.
Yeah, listen to the story. I've never released a piece of literature that I've ever written to the general public.
Yeah, and it's a really cool format. I think it's an amazing concept. I think it's a great usage of YouTube.
Yeah.
And podcasting and all of it. Short stories, spoken word, and installments.
Yeah.
Love it.
So we're writing. I'm working on writing a longer story, but I'm just gonna hold myself accountable with you guys and your help to just releasing bits and pieces over time. So this is the way that I'm combating this idea that I am a merchant in service of the empire. Because if nothing else, it's interesting, collect some data, and then just talk about it. And even if I do this, then we'll probably wind up starting that book study at the house on Wednesday nights or something.
That could be fun.
Well, because there's a level of structure I have never had as an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Which is, as an entrepreneur, you can just do anything, generally speaking.
You tend to stay pretty busy.
I stay busy, but it's erratically busy. It's not...
frenetic.
Yeah, it's not definably busy.
Yeah.
So if you have a 9-to-5 job, you actually really have to pace your energy out. You can't just say, I'm going to work 19 hours tomorrow and then play God of War for the next 3 days. Like, that's actually not something you can do.
Yeah.
You can't just work to burnout because you have to go to work tomorrow and then the next day, and then you have to keep doing this, right?
Right.
So that's why I'm kind of looking at it like, okay, so with some structure, with some work structure, and even I struggle with this resignation concept a lot. I don't get necessarily resigned to the fates that be in the universe and them controlling my life. What I get resigned to is that I am who I am. I don't think I'm ever going to actually change. I'd like to change, but you know what? I seem okay. People don't seem to hate me, so why not? And I think that's the most perilous form of resignation. It's not about Netflix.
Acquiescence, settling, like
Settling to yourself. Settling and saying, I had potential.
And then I took an arrow to the knee.
And now I'm okay with, I'm happy about saying I had potential.
Yeah, they're...
Right?
Well, maybe it's because you're... Well, yeah, of course that's depressing. Well, that's like me saying, like, well, I could have been a rock star, but blah, 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 blah. I don't say that. I say, well, what am I doing right now? And I can tell you what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. And you're still pursuing it. Right?
It might not be the same, like, glorious rock star dream I had as a kid, but I don't necessarily take it off the table either. I don't know. I just know I'm going that way. And,
right.
And it has music in it. And that it feels really good when I do that. So I'm doing it.
Yeah. I mean, like, and so my dream since I was 15 has been to be public speaker, writer, that kind of word-driven character. That's always been my, and like not many people, if you say when you're 15, what do you want to be when you grow up? And this is like way before YouTube, way before everything. My answer was, in fact, I'd like to be a public speaker.
And here you are.
And here I am, but doing public speaking. And you know what? The hardest part of the reason I never really did anything with that dream is because I've always known that once you like land whatever band you're in that gets famous, whatever it is that you become famous for, you have to keep doing. And it's hard to know what you're actually going to want to keep doing for 20 years. You know what I mean? Like if you were like Brian, your band, what was the funny band that you did, the rapping group with you and your friend? The Aliens?
I have no idea what you're talking
the
about.
The Alien Sex? Come on.
That's not it. Yeah, okay.
All right.
Man.
So let's say that was that.
Yeah.
And you became famous for your sweet, sweet Alien Sex Universe rap. And you had to then keep producing that for forever. But here you are, you're 47.
First of all,
yeah,
my grandparents were still alive, so that would have been rough.
Oh, okay.
You know, but now that they're all dead, I could probably bring it back, but it wouldn't have the same impact as it would have 10 or 15 years ago. But
but no, now you don't want to become.
Well, no, it would have been awful because it was so hyperbolic and ridiculous and over the top. But like it would have been personas we would have had to take on in some capacity.
Yeah.
People would have projected that onto us if it were successful, and that probably would have ruined us.
I mean, I'm just imagining existing in that universe from say 19 to 27.
Yeah, it would have been ridiculous. I'm actually glad it didn't happen.
Right.
I'd still be recovering.
Okay. I'm actually glad it didn't happen. All right.
I am. I really.
And that's why there's something about the.
But it was fun. Like me and one of my best friends created this silly little universe, and we made each other laugh.
And that was fun.
It was great.
And that was good.
And then some people really liked it.
And do you think that it served the purpose that for which it was intended?
I mean, it almost didn't have a purpose. We were screwing around on an old power book.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That was the purpose itself was in fact just to hang out with your friends and have fun.
Yeah.
Like that was in fact its purpose.
Communion, a fellowship, a fun time with another human being that you care about.
Yeah.
That's what life's all about. You know, weren't you talking about was that Mune Cat video I watched?
Oh yeah, Mune Cat, yeah.
All right, so I think what you were getting out of that, and she was criticizing kind of like the manosphere being like sort of excellent, to like basically just screaming at like the poor kid that's like, I'm such a soy boy, like you're gonna be trans like me, and the kid's just like crying and he just starts drinking even more soy milk. That was pretty funny. Okay.
Did you watch a little bit of that?
Yeah, I watched a good amount. There's some pretty decent critique in there for
solid.
Yeah, uber liberal Marxist.
Oh yeah, for a socialist feminist. Yeah,
she did a good job.
Yeah, great job criticizing the manosphere.
Yes, it deserves it. And I think, yeah, the kid was like, "Oh, so are you guys gonna help me? Are you gonna like help make a community and like mentor me and like teach me new hobbies?" Like, no, no, we're gonna scream at you, and then we're gonna give you this like freaking complex and take your money, and like it's like no, the community is the answer.
It still is.
Community is the answer. Like
We've done what, like 30 or 40 episodes now?
we talk about it all the time. I mean, I think that's the main thing that's missing. I mean, fraternities, fellowships, sororities, any of it, like covenants, all of the. We need that. We need more of that. Like yesterday, that because that helps life be so meaningful, and it's so important to have more involved relationships with other people rather than just casual work relationships or family you're sick of or
All right.
you know.
So is it now every time somebody gets involved with a group and that group says,
Groups have loads of problems. Of course.
I'm not saying they don't,
Yeah.
but the group says, well, you got to be here. You don't have to be here on Friday nights, but we're hoping that you will choose to be here. We're hoping that you will choose to accept a responsibility, something you can do for the group, and then you show up, and there is an accountability to that. If you don't show up, somebody might give you a call and say, "Hey, what happened? Where were you last night?"
That's the difference between like a fellowship and like some dudes that hang out on Thursdays. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
Because you have to have some kind of responsibility. Like if you're in a band and you're like, something I did recently. It's like I'll be in charge of making like a little demo video for like the venues and stuff. Like if I don't do that, I'm hurting those guys too.
right,
I'm not just being a lazy piece of shit, and then it's just on me.
right.
And then having that kind of responsibility with consequences and whatnot will definitely bring you closer to other people.
So
Of course.
so we've once again arrived at the conclusion that the answer to the Great Resignation being, why shouldn't you, like, if you are sitting there saying, well, I could be better, but hey, nobody's really expecting me to be better. My life isn't that bad. Why shouldn't I watch Netflix? Or, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, have we arrived back at the conclusion that the answer to masculine malaise, resignation, is to commit to have accountability within the context of group?
I think that's a pretty good solution, yeah, rather than sitting around and getting really, really, really angry at your political opposition. And
Now you're involved in a band,
yeah,
and that band is trying to achieve something.
yeah.
So that's one form of group,
Mhm.
right? I'm in AA, right, which doesn't require a whole lot of accountability or commitment necessarily to keep it going.
Mhm.
So I usually pick up a commitment here or there, but generally speaking, not necessarily a whole lot going on there. So in starting a group, would we orient the group around, say, trying to get the Colorado right to grow your own food? And what we're going to do is we're going to create this semi-political organization that's got these libertarian bents because we're going to go and attack the universe. Let's say.
That could be fun.
Could be fun. That's like an existentialist band, right? Put it in some sort of way. The other option is you say, well, we're going to have more of a... I hate the idea of having a group that sits around and talks about philosophy. It just seems hard to say we're going to talk about philosophy and then we're going to do something about it. Because existentialism, its greatest flaw is that it's so internally personal. Like, it's just you. So the idea of collective existentialism is basically just religion.
Yeah, it is.
Right? It's a group of people who've decided
Something like
that they all have the same values, and so they're all going to homogenize together in some way and have like a collective persona, a collective...
Well, sure. A lot of people don't have that because they're like, screw the church or screw religion altogether. And there's all kinds of good reasons, I think, to have that mentality. And then, so what replaces that need? There's a void there. What do you get instead? Well, you get...
So The answer to the Great Resignation
the internet
is collective existentialism.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
I don't know. Is it?
I mean, we've talked about collective
you want to start a new
existentialism.
religion?
No. We've talked about collective existentialism before. I think it was on one of the earlier podcasts.
Well, yeah, that was the whole mission statement of like, okay, so that's sort of an oxymoron. What would that look like?
Correct.
Look like Freemasonry a little bit. I mean, I feel like there's some similarities there.
Because so in AA, which was pretty much formed by Jung, he basically wrote the playbook. Not a lot of people know that, but whatever. He basically was like, look, you're only drinking alcohol because alcohol is a form of low-level worship.
Right.
Could you say you're only watching Netflix because Netflix is a form of low-level mythological experience?
Yeah, probably.
Like you're watching The Story, which is the same thing as listening to a pastor preach a sermon?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and then the superheroes and stuff, could be like a pantheon of gods.
Isn't that the beta gods thing you were talking about the other day?
Yeah, somebody was...
That was great.
Beta theism?
Beta theism.
I forget who it was, but I read that somewhere.
I actually really like that a lot.
It made me chuckle.
Maybe we could become the beta theists of the existential collectivists. I think that the more jargon we put into our mission statement, the better it will be. Like every word has to be a minimum of 4 syllables.
Okay.
Existentialist. Is that 5?
Yeah.
6. Okay, good. We got make it plural, make it 6. Okay. I think that is the next logical conclusion then, because we've now circled, we're a year later, and we've actually just circled our way all the way back to the idea of collective existentialism.
Okay. Which is, can we define it real quick?
Whew. It's got to be a group of people with a common goal
Individuation.
or problem
Existential crisis.
who follow a certain path to achieve, individuation. AA would say spiritual awakening.
Yeah, it sounds like Freemasonry if you remove all the conspiracy stuff.
Well, it also sounds like AA. It also sounds like Christianity. It also sounds like every single religion ever made.
Yeah, except...
Freemasonry has those religious undertones, worshiping the architect of the universe kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's more about... I don't know, just hearsay, but like it's more they directly tackle like your personal individuation and your goals and whatnot, Whereas if you went to like a typical church, they're not necessarily harping on that as much, are they?
No, not at all.
No.
Your goals don't matter at church. No.
Yeah.
Your goals are totally irrelevant.
Right.
I like this. You guys mind if we keep going? Because now we're just riffing. We actually only have a whole lot that we're talking about in terms of the Great Resignation. So, Brian, are you okay with just kind of trying to flesh this thing out a little bit?
Yeah.
All right. I know we're going to go over 40 minutes here because we probably just hit that mark, but
35 minutes. Right.
I'd really like to decide. So I think that it's somewhere between a blend of the AA thing but more accountable in terms of the now as the Freemasonry thing. Are they accountable to achieving said goals, or do they try to achieve them, or does the group help people to achieve these goals? I know you're not like a 33rd degree, Mason.
I'm not involved whatsoever, but
but in terms of your understanding, what is your understanding? And if you have an understanding out there in the comments, whatever, subscriber section, we know that Freemason get a little weird, but if you know more than what we do, please let us know, or ask some comments, or let us know what you'd like for us to research. Okay, what do you know?
Well, they like working with guys that have like a North Star orientation. In some capacity, and they want you to structure your life so that it's orderly and makes sense, and like you're progressing towards what you want, because that is meaningful.
Why?
Pretty sure.
Why?
Why not? I don't know.
Well,
Why
no,
would
no.
you
What
know?
I mean is
Sounds great.
What it
Isn't that kind of what we're talking about?
it does sound good.
Yeah.
Like, do you like pair up in like little partner groups and like your job?
I don't know.
Right? Like, see, now that would be interesting. So let's say you got 10 guys. And they're all in a circle. And if you want to get a new guy into the group has to agree to vote the person in.
Mm-hmm.
You better be serious as a heart attack about this. Because every single week, you're going to pair up with a different person in the group. And you have to help each other move to progress your goal. So that means you have to educate your guy about you enough that they can actually help you. And you have to accept the help of a rookie, right? Or find some way that they can help you. And you have to do the same for them. So maybe once every 2 weeks, you switch partners in terms of North Star orientation.
That could be cool. I mean, I think even just thinking about it or riffing on it. I mean, like I said before, I do think that that's one of the big voids in society. It's like meaningful relationships and groups that like work, that don't descend into politics and bullshit and nonsense and infighting, which is inevitable. I mean, it's just entropy's going to enter the system. But you know, the fight to be able to have these things is worthwhile. So then maybe some people that get caught up in the existentialist thing, or they're like very like independent minded, they might be a little too independent.
Well, if you're so independent that you cannot receive help from somebody who's new to something.
Sure.
And if you're too stubborn is that you can't receive help from somebody who's new, right? Then you're a bad existentialist, first of all. Like, because you're just an island, and and if you are an island, you're an idiot by default.
But you're convincing yourself that that's like enlightenment somehow, because overcome the world.
Yeah, so I think that there is a built-in part of this is the idea that you would depend on somebody. They would also depend on you as a matter of principle to learn how to depend and be dependable.
Okay.
So we're forcing the idea of interdependence.
Voluntary interdependence.
Voluntary. Yeah. So collective existentialism has its origins in voluntary interdependence.
Well, one of the big work.
That was the worst sentence I've ever said. I'm going to write it down. Hold on a second. Hold on.
It's a big whiteboard right there.
I know, but I'm gonna use this pen.
Okay, so Great Resignation.
Great Resignation, yeah.
So a lot of people they don't like work because they've never really had a job that they felt like was much of a choice. I mean, it was a choice, but it was a choice because, well, you have to go to work, so I guess I'll work here. And I guess I'll work here, so then I have to deal with these people. But I'd really rather not be doing either of those things now, would I? And if people enjoyed their jobs more and maybe felt like they had more choices and could work in environments that better suit them, I mean, they would be happier. And they would live more meaningful lives. And so, I mean, that's a big thing. People probably had a lot of really terrible work experiences. I know I have.
Well, you know, and it's funny too, because like when life gets really hard, there is a real tendency to, not necessarily that you're like so ashamed you don't want to show your shame. I'm not saying that. There's just a lack of self-confidence that comes, and so the fact that you're not sharing it isn't necessarily because you're so ashamed. It's just that that's not the thinking process. You just have lost your mojo, right? So part of what it is that if you don't have a mojo, right? Okay, so hold on a second. So to locate,
Mojo.
Yeah, like Austin Powers, mojo, baby, yeah.
What's that quote?
Oh boy, which one?
Not Austin Powers.
Okay.
There's plenty of those too. I know. Is it Thoreau or something like, find whatever makes you come alive? But that, like sparks, man, the divine sparks, the passion. Yes, we need that. Everybody's got the potential for that. They have to.
And they want to. So that would be one of the first tenets. So like in AA, we say, step one, we admitted defeat, that we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives had become unmanageable. So what I might say for us is that we admitted defeat, that we were powerless to feel whole alone. Right? Or something like that. So like the first step of collective existentialism is it begins with a voluntary interdependence.
Okay.
I'm going to choose to depend on you. You're going to choose to depend on me. We are all going to choose to depend on this group.
I don't have to, but I want to.
It's voluntary. And the reason why you're doing this
I need to want to.
You don't know when you're going to need the group is the problem.
Okay.
Like you don't know when the crypto market's going to fall out. You don't know when you might get fired. Like you don't know when the bad things might happen. But also, there is something that really sucks about celebrating alone and have nobody to celebrate with you. Like both sides of that coin, the shit days and the best days of your life. Like if nobody's at your wedding to celebrate your wedding with you, right? Or if you get fired and you're sitting at a bar alone. Those are the same experiences.
And all these things, that's what's most sad about modernity, I think. I worry about the younger generations that grew up with social media, that grew up viewing friendships as like a social clout, like a game, a score, how many likes, how many friends, how much clout do I have? I want to be an influencer. And they're becoming islands, even though their whole life revolves around being quote unquote social. These fake relationships, that sort of thing. That's scary. Or, you don't have this community. So you post on this subreddit all the time and you've got some karma. That's not a freaking community. It's not a place either. It's an abstraction. You're talking to some people. That can be really cool. Okay. I'm not saying that that's this. Do that. That's great. Treat them like real people when you do it too. Don't just be a troll unless it's really funny. But these online hive minds where you're just like another brick in the wall. You're just another drop in the thing. Like it's very, very difficult to get like real clout in those communities. There's only like a handful of stars, so to speak. But that'll fill the need to be a part of something for people. Sure. And it's like you're not part of anything really.
Well, I remember being in a guild of World of Warcraft and going out and farming mushrooms, but you actually saw your friends, you saw their avatars. It wasn't a total abstraction in terms of location because there you were at Goldshire Inn in Elwyn Forest or something, and you farmed your mushrooms. And you're standing in the end with your friends on chat.
Yeah, and
a little more.
Like I was saying before about you should watch sports, drink and play video games. Video games. I mean, if you're playing with other people.
If you're depending on them to get a raid done.
Yeah.
If you're depending on them because you're playing,
that's cool.
I have no PvP or something.
No problem with that. Just don't forget to touch grass, as they say.
Touch grass. All right, fine. So I've got collective existentialism. All right, so we're working on the tenets of it. So I've got begins with voluntary interdependence. Number 2, find your North Star. Like that's like an actual thing. You find it and you help others find theirs.
Cool.
Okay?
Yeah.
And to your point just now, touch grass. No, okay, all right. So let's get this a little bit better, okay?
Do you know what I mean by that?
Get in touch with nature.
Go outside.
Yeah, go outside. Be with your friends outside. Go, like my mom used to say. Go play outside. I don't think go play outside it just lacks jargon for me.
I like it better.
I hate you. All right, go play outside.
It's got that whole everything I needed to learn, I learned in kindergarten feel.
All right. So here's something I miss as a man. TPing my friends' houses.
Yeah, but write that down.
Okay.
That's 10 to 6.
Yeah. How many of you guys miss TPing your friends? For those of you who are still hanging out, how many of you guys miss TPing your friends' houses?
I don't think I ever actually did it.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
I'm going to TP the crap out of your apartment one day. I'm literally just going to walk in. I'm going to let myself in. I'm going to TP the crap out of this place.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because I'm not going to TP the outside of my house. But I will
was just going to say, like...
I will not TP the outside of my house, but I will TP the inside of yours. So, no, but what I mean is that, like, there is, like, go play outside. There's a difference between playing outside, having an adventure, right? There's like variations of outdoor play. I could play games, like we could play what's that? Cornhole. So you could play cornhole, right?
You could just throw rocks at a sign.
You could throw rocks at a sign. We could throw ropes up at that tree branch to try to pull it down from the tree outside with the dead branch that's hanging down. It's like 40 feet in the air. Every time I look at that, I think, why don't we throw a rock, attach it to a rope, try to get whoever gets the branch down first has to buy the other guy dinner or something.
Would you like to go do that as soon as we're done?
I would, yeah, if Nicole's not done making dinner. But yeah, I would. Do you want to play tree branch rock?
Yeah.
Okay, tree branch rock sounds fun. Okay, so
what about rock branch tree?
I like rock branch tree. That's
I think
fine.
it's got a better flow to it.
Yeah. Rock, branch, tree.
And it doesn't have to make sense.
Rock, branch, tree, steak. Rock, yeah, because I want a steak. Okay, so go play outside. Yeah. There's something about men pranking each other, and I feel like men have lost this capacity to play pranks on each other.
That's excellent. That's very important.
Like, it's an actual tenet that, like...
You look at how well Jackass does. Why is that?
Because every man wants to feel like a group of guys knows him well enough to play a genuine prank on him. Mm-hmm. For somebody to play a genuine prank on you, they have to know you and love you. Because pranks take thought, effort, work, and if you don't think that a genuine prank is an absolute gift, like, you're a crazy person that needs to, like, go play outside.
That's good for your character, too, you know? That's a good one. Pranks. Merry pranksters.
Okay. Voluntary interdependence. Find your North Star. Help others find their North Star. Go play games. Play games outside. Prank your friends.
Yeah.
Right? And have adventures. All right.
We're going to end up with the Super Adventure Club from South Park.
We're going to end with the Goonies. Hopefully we end up with the Goonies.
Okay.
Now, in terms of, this is a good way of talking about what the group does. How would you know if you were going to let somebody in? So let's say YouTubey McYouTuberston decides that they want to, like, you know, like we're pulling somebody from Parker. We're like, okay.
All right. Well, because we're not being exploitative, we're not just trying to. We're being very exclusive.
We're just doing this to improve our own lives.
Yes.
We are not trying to make a group. We're not trying to build a cult. We're not trying to do any of those things. We're literally just trying to say, look, everything else seems to have failed.
It would have to be a resounding yes from all the members. It would have to be like, totally.
How would you know?
We like that guy. I don't know. You just would.
No, I mean, like, how would you know? Not in the, well, because at some point you're going to say, yes, we're going to bring in a, lesser confident person, right? You because you do see, you have vision for them or something like that. Like, there is a mentoring aspect. It's not that it's all just straight peer to peer.
Good. That's important. That's rewarding, and that's helpful and meaningful, and will make your life better and somebody else's life better. It's all the things.
Yeah, so that kind of person would just have to show. But what I mean is, like, is there some sort of, like, base level knowledge? Like, what is the phrase that you would have to hear? Like in AA, right? A lot of people hate the idea of saying, hi, my name's Drew and I'm an alcoholic. Right?
Yeah, especially if their name isn't Drew.
Sure. They hate the phrase because they hate this idea that they're identifying as an alcoholic every single time. Now, this is actually my favorite part of an AA meeting is saying, hi, my name's Drew and I'm an alcoholic, because I think that everybody who goes to church should also say, hi, my name's Drew and I am such an incredibly terrible sinner that the King of the universe had to come down, live a sinless life, die on a cross for my sins because I'm so terrible that I needed like the King of the universe to do that for me personally. I'm that bad. I'm not pious. I'm not like better than you. I'm so bad that that guy, that God man had to do that for me. I'm that bad. Right? And I think if every Christian sat down at church and they started church by saying, I am a horrible sinner and desperately need God and am thankful to be here and am thankful for the grace that makes me not feel like a sinner today. I think if everybody oriented to that at church on Sunday mornings, it'd be a lot better.
They don't?
No.
Well, they're not sinning enough.
Well, either that or they just don't think they need God enough.
Well, the more you sin, the more you need God, so...
All right. So go out there. Get busy.
Sin. Write that down.
Sinning. Get busy sinning.
Sin your tits off.
Hamartia. To miss the mark. So that's the idea, is that like there, and to me, if you were to sit down in a group, there has to be a confession statement. Now, Mircea Eliade, who was quoted heavily by Victor Turner, who was also a close friend with Carl Jung, one of the foremost anthropologists at the turn of the century. So Nietzsche, Dostoevsky.
I believe we have a clip somewhere where you run through all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
My ontological spiel of people who said things that other people then followed. Yeah. So Eliade, Eliade, first name Mircea, Mercea. Mircea, I don't know, he's French, whatever. Okay. He says that ritual humiliation is like one of the most important things in any group.
Okay. Hazing, pranking kind of goes along with that a little bit.
It does, but no, it's more in the subtle, like, think of it as simply put as, hi, my name's Drew and I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
It's that simple. So if somebody sat down in a room and they said,
hi, I'm not an island, I need something. Like, and I submit to that, even though I'm an existentialist and my goal is to be completely self-sufficient and enlightened and individuated. Part of that is actually almost counterintuitive. It's sort of the exact opposite, and maybe does involve a great deal of submission, and I actually need you. And I feel like such a fool for having not figured that out years ago.
that was really good. Okay. I'm in.
All right.
I want to be a part of whatever group has every single guy say that before they're allowed to speak.
And then we paddle his ass with a barbed paddle.
Barbed?
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. No, not barbed.
This isn't collective
What about
flagellation, existentialism.
bamboo stick?
On Sunday, we have our flagellation march on downtown Main Street, Parker. Who wants to bring the cat of nine tails? Brian? No, I like this.
What about flatulation march? That would be.
Flatulation march, I can compete. Now that's something I can get behind.
After Sunday
Where's the raisin bran?
After Sunday barbecue.
Boy, raisin bran, dude.
Yeah.
Whew. Anyways, okay. No, I like this. Okay, so what is it? It's I'm an island. I've been an island.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm a lonely island. There's already a band name called The
Yeah,
Lonely
we're recording this, so you could always go back and listen to what I said if you liked it so much.
Well, it was the series of admissions. So the first admission was, it was like, I'm alone.
Think we're alone now.
I'm an idiot for trying to do everything alone.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't remember it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go
It's on
back
its own,
and
man.
listen to it a little bit. but it was real. Flying is real too, man.
Where's my chopsticks?
So I think we're gonna go with this concept of saying that the masculine ritual humiliation is to say, I thought I could do everything alone and be happy, and I was wrong.
Yeah, and I think it kind of requires a type of person who would attempt that. And I think
What's your 20s?
Well, there's value in attempting that. I think you should attempt that.
That's what your 20s are for.
It's a funny thing about life. The absurdity of it is like you really ought to go actually learn the lessons.
Yeah, if you're 23,
even
go
if you
try to be an island.
Skipped ahead and you've read the book and you know what happens, you should do it anyway. And you should fail. And then it's just so funny. Yeah. But it's like, okay, someone who says that, who like never actually tried to be Atlas, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or be the independent type. It wouldn't be as, well, no, we wanted you to have done that so you have more character. So then like you're in much cooler.
Well, at the end of the day, you can't join Alcoholics Anonymous if you're not an alcoholic.
Yeah.
This is not a group for all men.
Yeah, so
it's a group
exactly
for men who say,
it's exactly the
look,
same.
I tried to do it alone. I've been doing it alone. And it's not,
you
and
can't go there unless you're not alcoholic. It's so obvious, but there's something titillating about that.
No, that really is like there is a real joy in being well, this is one of the things that I'm so stoked about being an alcoholic about, is that like I have the world's largest support group of actually awesome people 7 days a week in any state I'm in 180 countries, and it's free.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And the best part about it, and I actually shared this at AA on Saturday, was the best part about AA is when you go and you scream into the black abyss of declaring the crazy things that you think and feel and see. When you do that alone, it's just madness. But when I do it at AA, or when men do it at our men's group, the abyss laughs back at you. And you don't feel quite alone, and you certainly don't feel like you're crazy. Suddenly you feel that every guy in that room is the exact same brand of crazy that you are. And that's all right, man.
In the same ballpark, at least. Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, if you can make some AA-related jokes, you know?
Yeah.
Like I made a joke a while back about how like I always thought that I was convinced I was only an asshole when I drank. But then, screw you. Then one time I got so angry I punched a hole in the wall. And I was sober. And I thought, nope, just a jerk. Nope, you are. And I remember at the time I was so alone and I was so ashamed and I was just so embarrassed. And then and it was like killing me on the inside. And I went and I told this story at my group, and there was probably 50 guys in this meeting, and every single one of them busted out laughing, just awesome. Like you did, because everybody realizes you're not a jerk because you drank, you're a jerk because you're a jerk.
And you drink.
Yeah. It's not like you didn't accomplish your dream because, like you didn't have whatever it was you needed. It's that even when you had what you needed, you still didn't accomplish it because you're incompetent alone.
Damn.
Because everybody is incompetent alone, because any success you have alone is pointless. It's just masturbatory success.
Masturbatory success.
Masturbatory success is success for you with no other goal than for you to be you. Better.
Has anyone ever jacked off and then been like, I'm pretty
success!
I'll have to give that a shot.
It's
not possible.
Right. Masturbatory success. I've never said it before as a phrase, but God, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Honestly, like it's like those guys that are like, yeah, like I just want to like get rich so I can have a legacy. A legacy for what? Well, like for like my kids. What kids? You don't have any kids. Well, I don't have any kids, but you know, like slept with 3 girls last night from Tinder, so you know, like maybe I do. Maybe I've got one on the way. And you're like, I to have a dream of having success for yourself without the intention of sharing it with the tribe. I'm pretty sure it is just some sort of masturbatory experience.
Yeah, we need good tribalism. There's a lot of bad tribalism. And the bad tribalism, I think it isn't even real tribalism. It's like a simulacra of it that you get from the internet, from people being like, I'm a part of something. And it's like, no, nobody cares about you. You're just kind of a useful idiot kind of cog in the wheel there. These aren't real people that have your back. But you go there and then you feel like you belong to something, and then you point and go, there's the bad guy. We hate those people. Those people are terrible. And it's like, half the things you criticize them of, your people fucking do the same thing. We just need less of that and more, even if it's just you start a barbecue club, and then do your march of flatulence.
Well, and imagine, okay, so let's say you go to your barbecue.
That would be infinitely better.
You go to your barbecue club, and everybody there who cooks something at the barbecue club.
No politics allowed. Just
the first thing they have to say is my name is Drew, and I always barbecue my chicken, and it's always dry.
I need help.
And everybody there knows that you're actually an unbelievable barbecuer. But there was a time when every chicken you made was terrible and it was dry. Right? Mm-hmm. Like I may not be I'm in recovery, right? Like I'm not I remember when I used to joke about being an alcoholic while I was drinking, right? That's sad. Like people who joke about being a bad cook while still being a bad cook. That's sad. That's like, it's like when you joke about being overweight while you're eating like 17 Big Macs for dinner, like that's not funny. It's sad. Right? So anytime people are...
That's kind of funny.
No, it's funny. And yes, people laugh at themselves, right? Like my ADHD is just crippling sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. But that's the kind of statement of humiliation where all the guys agree that losing alone is despair, and succeeding alone is masturbation.
Failing in a group can actually be pretty awesome because, like, it sucks, but you get to experience it with other people.
Hey, like sex, man. Sex is better, you know what I'm saying? Not with a bunch of other people, but with your
spouse. A bunch of men. After you barbecue.
And then play cornhole outside?
Yes.
Is that what that...
All right.
All right. So,
are we still on the riff train?
We are on it because we are actually making some progress here.
Okay.
Because, Sorry, everybody. How would we know if the group worked?
You would be excited to go to the thing.
You'd be excited to go to the thing.
Yeah. You wouldn't be like, this is this thing I have to do. You'd be fairly excited to go to the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe not the same level of enthusiasm every single time. I mean, let's be real.
No, I go through strict stints where I don't go to AA for like a month or two. Like, it totally happens.
But for the most part, yeah. Or you'd think, my life would not be as good if that were not there. And may even be a little bit afraid of losing it. Not that you have to walk on eggshells or anything like that, but, consequences. You'd be upset if it wasn't there.
And I think that if you like, I got a men's group that I go to on Tuesday mornings during the school year because it's affiliated with my kid's school. But I got this problem though, which is that a couple of my friends, their kids are going to graduate in like a year, and then it's over. And like they're just going to not go to school anymore because they're not there dropping off the kids. So it's like I realize that I'm forming these bonds with these guys, and there's an actual like deadline, like clock associated with it, and then they're just going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
I found it to be very depressing and demotivating.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, the expiration date for your community. And then you go, well, is it weird to try to get these guys to hang out in like another environment? They're probably really busy, you know?
You know what?
But do
Are people that busy?
I don't know.
Really?
Are they?
What's the average amount of TV that people watch per day?
A lot.
4 hours?
Yeah.
6 hours? Now couple that with how much time does the average person spend on their phone a day? 2 hours? 3 hours? So what, you got 8 hours for media and you can't have a barbecue on Wednesday nights from 7 to 8? 7 to 9?
That's what people need to be doing. And if the government ever tells you not to, revolt. Just kidding. No.
Hey man, we got freedom to assembly.
Yeah, I think we do, actually.
For
it's
now.
protected by the Constitution.
For now. Anyways, okay. So, collective existentialism, voluntary interdependence. The goal of the meeting is to find your North Star, help others find theirs. Okay? You recognize that failing alone is disparity and succeeding alone. Boy, I hate the idea of saying succeeding alone is masturbation, but we got to come up with a better word for that.
Yeah. Especially if I can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that one can masturbate and then feel very successful about it.
And then say, great success. Great success!
I'm a really good guy.
That was amazing. Yes.
I love myself. It's usually not.
And I think that if the group just kept with something like that, and then there was, I like the idea of swapping your interdependence on, who you're working with that month. I do like that idea because a lot of times in group situations, you stick with the 3 people you stick with 3 people you hang out with, and that's pretty much it. And the other thing is like in AA, there's like sponsors that go they walk you through the steps, top down, but you don't really ever like speak into their lives. So they don't ever really have any dependence on you. So there's no, and that's part of the thing is that there's no real sharing. Now, something I had said to somebody a while ago is this. Do you believe that without community, you will die?
Maybe like literally die or just feel
like have you come to believe that to live absent of the community is something you're totally fine with?
Depends on the community, but nobody wants to be entirely alone, pretty sure. Some people are really good at it, or at least they think they are.
The real reason AA works, and the real reason that 12-step programs worked, and the reason that church used to work before the 17th century decline of hell, is that people believed that if I don't get this, I'll die.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for results, that should do it.
So, how would you know who to let in? You have to actually believe that without this group of guys, you're not going to make the journey. Like, you got to actually believe it on some levels. That you are insufficient on your own to do what God has called you to do. Ha! There it is. Hi, my name is Drew, and I believe that I am insufficient to be able to accomplish what God has called me to do, absent from a community to do it with.
That would be a very hard thing for an existentialist to confess.
The hardest thing for an alcoholic to confess is that they are an alcoholic.
Yeah. How about that? Existentialist Anonymous. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I guess you would have to be theistic. Theistic.
Oh, you're higher power.
Yeah.
You got to be higher
I
powerish.
think we just made our own Freemasons. I swear, this is very similar.
Do you know what I just said? I can't remember.
Higher, you need a higher power.
No. I came to believe that.
I came to believe that I can't achieve what God has called me to achieve.
I'm insufficient. Yeah.
Insufficient without this group. There you go.
I came to believe that I am insufficient to achieve that which God has called me to. Alone. I think at the end of the day, all the existentialist journeys, they wind up at Zen, which is you're never really alone. Like, I'm part of you, you're part of me, and the like Hindu, Atman, like higher self thing.
Hermeticism kind of.
Existentialist.
All is mind. We're all a part of the same stuff that's all connected, experiencing itself.
That's why existentialists and Zen masters get along so well.
Do they?
I think so. I know Carl Jung.
I don't know that many.
So you say so take
makes.
take Jung for example, right? Jung encounters. He's working on the Red Book for like 20 years. Then he encounters Secret of the Golden Flower, right? And he just stops. Like, if you read the Red Book, it literally just stops. Like, the drawings and everything. He didn't even finish the last drawing.
Right, yeah.
Because I think that's the thing he came to realize. Was that to be, and he even said this, that you cannot individuate outside the context of group. Put that in your fucking pipe and smoke it.
I will.
So I came to believe that I cannot individuate outside the context of a group. I am insufficient to do what God has called me to, because you can only do that if you're individuated. I'm insufficient to achieve that which is God has called me to alone.
It's a good place to wrap it up.
That is a statement any existentialist would have a really hard time saying. And if you can't say it, then you can't admit that you got a problem. And if you can't admit that you've got a problem, you can come see us.
So we want the kind of people that are willing to say that, but it actually would feel difficult, like they were pulling their own teeth out.
Like they had to do a lot of work
in order to be able to really truthfully
to say it and admit it.
Wow, that's interesting.
Like you're here.
We finally got somewhere with this concept.
Yeah, you're here at Phoenix Ridge because I invited you here because I realized after 15 YouTube channel attempts, I realized I was insufficient to do this thing that I do feel that God has called me to alone.
Oh.
No, I realized that. And after our time with the boyos, I was like, we're doing this. And you invited me. Which I went to this tarot card reader, and the tarot card reader was like, believe the next person who seeks you out. Did I ever tell you the story?
No.
I didn't?
No.
Okay, this is a great story, and then we ended on this story.
Okay.
So I am always the person going and seeking out other people. All the time. Like, oh, you should come and do this with me. You should come do this with me all the time. I'm like, I'm initiating everything. And I'm like, oh, you totally could do this. And I'm like, yeah, you should come on. Yeah, let's do this thing. I went to this tarot card reader. I'd never been to one. And it was Nicole's birthday, and I thought, oh, she would really think that would be super fun. So we went to this reader in like downtown Denver. And the guy was like talking to me, like flipping these cards, what do these mean to you? And I'm like, I don't know. We were talking, and all I remember is at the end of this hour-long session, he just looks at me and goes, "You should really just wait for people to come to you." That was May 1st. Our first podcast date, by the way, was like April 11th or 20th or something. So I remember that was one of the major things that made me keep going with the podcast, was that you asked me if we wanted to do this.
I initiated.
You started it, which was so rare for anybody to ever ask me to do something, because I'm always the one initiating. And I think one of the things that we've really come to is that we both do believe on some levels that if we cannot figure out the community part, then we've missed the whole point.
Yeah. I agree with that.
All right. Brian,
I like humans.
I am insufficient to achieve that which is called me to do.
I know you are, but what am I?
Indeed. All right. My name is Drew.
I'm Bryan.
And we are the men who stare at cups and create...
Cults.
We should make an app called Cult Maker. Well, we've been live from the Phoenix Ridge Studios. Comment, subscribe, do the deals. If you guys made it here, congrats. Thanks. See you next time.